Alright guys, I'm getting ready for Breaking Bad tonight, and I'm sorry I'm getting this review to you late, but yeah, I had a lot of stuff going on that I had to take care of. But still, I got to see this awesome movie. I mean, I guess spoiler alert to how I thought about the movie, but still. The World's End. I wonder how much longer until this turns into a drinking game. Alright, The World's End. So basically, this is the third installment to the Cornetto trilogy, which if you don't know, the Cornetto trilogy consists of Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and The World's End. Not in that order, Shaun of the Dead came first. Now, so there is a level of anticipation because Shaun of the Dead was fantastic, Hot Fuzz was fantastic, and now we have The World's End. And if that one fails, well, it's kind of like that moment where you're eating like a food and at first you're like, oh, this is really good, and then that last few bites just aren't. I mean, that's what you're afraid of with something like this. But how did it fare? Well, I can tell you, my friends, as you saw from the beginning of this review, it's awesome. This movie is great. Now, a little flawed, but great. I think it stands up with Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. It really does. So we start out with our characters, and they're the same people, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Martin Freeman, who I thought was pretty dang close to stealing the show. They all decide they're going to relive their early years and go back and drink the Golden Mile, which is a collection of pubs when you drink one beer at each one, and 12 pints later, yeah, pints. 12 pints later, you're done with the Golden Mile. They go back to their town, only to find out that there's something more sinister afoot as they're doing this, and this leads to some fantastic comedy. This felt very cult classic-y to me. This feels like something that people would reminisce about when we're in our 40s, and it's like, oh hey, or even 40s to 60s, where it's like, remember The World's End? Oh, that was a fun movie to watch. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect, but it's good. The movie flat out made me laugh the entire time. The movie also emotionally invested me, although that's where I have some complaints, is some of the emotion felt really, really forced and fake. Maybe this is because they were trying to go for a slightly different vibe and say, well, maybe let's make them laughing and try and be funny, but at the same time be serious, and it didn't work. In the third act of the film, there's a character bonding moment that seemed very, very forced and unnecessary, and I felt it actually took a little bit away. At first, they were setting it up like it was going to be, like, so amazing. My emotions were just riling up. You know that moment you're like, I know I'm about to get some emotional juice here? And yeah, it didn't work. But it was still fantastic all the way through, I felt. The fight scenes were some of the best filmed. They had a way that the camera flows through the action. So it's like, you see Martin Freeman, he like takes a beer glass and like smashes it over a robot's head, and the camera's moving past the beer glass shattering and moves over to Nick Frost, like punching a guy with a haymaker and then quickly elbowing back, and as he elbows, the camera moves through to Simon Pegg, like kicking some people while drinking. It was an amazing flow to the combat, and that's one of the best compliments I have to give for the movie, is it felt really great in its combat. I like that they threw in some nods to the other films, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. They did a few of those. I won't say what they are, so fans can try and catch them. But I also love just almost the mythological element of them going to each pub. And what I mean by mythological element is like you'd see the title of the pub, and something that happens in there is like a story of these men on their odyssey, so they have an experience there. So it's kind of like chapters, per se, of an odyssey. This really is like an odyssey when you look at it from a symbolic perspective. This is their journey to try and reach reconciliation, per se, and it worked really well, and I liked that a lot. I really bought into it. I really dug it. So a few stumbles on the character development, but all in all, one of the most hilarious movies I've seen all year, probably my favorite comedy of the year, and also some really awesome action. I can't wait for Edgar Wright to direct Ant-Man. This really kind of excites me even more, and I liked that there's a final 15 minutes where there's just a chunk of dialogue. That is actually sometimes even better than just the action, was this chunk of dialogue that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have with a character. I won't spoil it, so you go out and see it. I absolutely think you should go out and see this film. I am going to score it at a 90% because I liked it more than Elysium. So I'm going to score it at a 90%. So what did you guys think of it? Also, what's your favorite installment in the Cornetto trilogy? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and guys, tonight I will have my Breaking Bad discussion for the next episode online. I promise you that. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and you'll be seeing more videos from me.